Hello and welcome to the Comic Cave. I'm Ramsey, aka Captain Away, and today we're looking at the 2010 collection for Amazing Spider-Man Election Day. Thanks, Obama! Ever since everything reset for Spider-Man at the start of Brand New Day, everything has been building towards the local election for mayor of New York. The race was initially between local businessman Randall Crown and city councilwoman Lisa Parfrey, but that came to a crashing end thanks to the appearance of a new goblin-type villain calling itself Menace. During a mayoral debate, Menace kidnapped Parfrey to convince her to drop out of the race. When Spider-Man, and the imposter posing as the local registered superhero Jackpot, attempted to intervene, Parfrey would end up dead by being impaled by Menace's goblin glider. Following that disaster, Parfrey's vacancy in the race would be filled by local DA Bill Hollister, whose daughter, Lily Hollister, just happened to be the girlfriend of Peter Parker's best friend, Harry Osborn. While all of this was going on, Spider-Man also became public enemy number one as he became a suspected serial killer for the Spider Tracer killings, a number of otherwise unlinked murders where Spider-Man's Spider Tracers were found on the bodies of the victims. In an effort to capitalize on this for his campaign, candidate Crown would invite Norman Osborn and his Thunderbolts to town, hoping that if they could eliminate Spider-Man, it would score popularity points for his mayoral bid. While in town, Osborn noticed someone had been dipping into his old Green Goblin stores, and he even had a brief fight with Menace where Menace really clarified their focus on playing with local politics. Like Peter, Norman believed Menace had to be Harry returning to his goblin ways, but Harry seemed to have other things on his mind. We've covered all of this already in my other reviews of the Brand New Day Spider-Man arcs, so you can go watch those videos if you want the full story. But all of that has been building up to here. As the election draws near, everything is poised to come to a dangerous end for Spidey. So let's see if this election day turns out any better, and take this away. The comic opens on some supervillains talking politics. Aw yeah, that's what the people want, am I right? But hey, at least even villains know enough to do their civic duty and vote. I hope everyone voted. Given the results, I'm guessing you didn't, but anyway. We're really focused on these two blockheads, and yes, that's another jab at Romita Jr., because they're actually looking for the Bookie, who died in our last Spidey story, if you recall. He was killed by the real Spider Tracer killer, who the Bookie had been investigating as a favor to Spider-Man. Not wanting to get tangled up in this, the two supervillains book it out of there and call in an anonymous tip to the NYPD, who of course discover a Spider Tracer on the Bookie's dead body. With Spidey's body count seemingly rising, this reinvigorates the police hunt for him, and we cut to Spidey being chased by a police helicopter like this is the opening to the New 52 Detective Comics, or the New 52 Justice League, or the New 52 Nightwing's start of his trip to Chicago. Man, the early 2010s period really had a thing for superheroes being chased by trigger-happy helicopter cops. What's up with that? Spidey seems to be less than on top of his game and ends up taking a bullet from these cops. Wounded, he loses control and crashes into an office building with the police in hot pursuit. Pete manages to escape into an elevator past a bystander, who the cops then yell at for not intervening, and a little twist on Spider-Man's origin story. Spidey collapses and passes out while still in the building, but manages to come to before the police can find him and sneaks his way home, waiting outside until his roommate Vinny leaves before attempting to get inside to clean himself up and take some pain reliever. He doesn't get the chance because Carlie Cooper suddenly shows up, letting herself into the apartment with her spare key. I haven't talked about Carlie much in my Brand New Day Spidey reviews because she's exceedingly unimportant, at least up to this point. She's part of the effort for the creative teams to recapture the Lee Romita glory days that had their friend group of Pete, Gwen, MJ, and Harry with their modern version of Pete, Carlie, Lily, and Harry, respectively. But wanting a little bit of a twist and some teen romance drama, Carlie has been shown to have a bit of a thing for Pete, who is of course more interested in Lily, who is currently dating Harry, as I mentioned. Well, not just dating Harry. In this story, Harry leads her to the top of the Statue of Liberty, having rented out the entire island for their date, and then with the help of fireworks fired off from some barges that he also hired, Harry proposes to Lily. And she says that she'll have to think about it. Ouch. Anyway, Carlie is Lily's best friend, and since the death of her parents, Carlie has even been living with the Hollisters, as the good daughter for DA Bill Hollister, because they weren't at all trying to hide the Gwen Stacy Mary Jane influence. Carlie also works for the medical examiner's office at the NYPD and was the one who first discovered the spider tracers, at least as far as the comic shows us. Now, Bill Hollister's campaign for mayor hinges on Spider-Man being captured by the cops, so much so that political commentators are saying that without Spider-Man being arrested as a sort of October surprise situation, then Bill Hollister is doomed to failure, which is kind of weird. Hollister is a DA. Sure, he would prosecute Spider-Man, most likely, but he's not a cop, and he's not already mayor. He doesn't make arrest decisions. Why would Spider-Man getting arrested be a boost to his campaign rather than to Crown's? Seeing as Crown is the one that has hinged his entire election around trying to stop Spider-Man already. But whatever. If politics made sense, Trump would have never been elected in the first place, so I guess what do I know? So with Bill's campaign on the line, and Carlie drawn into the Spider Tracer mystery from her own curiosity, she convinces her boss that there must be a way to track Spider Tracers if Spidey can track them. And sure enough, he's managed to do just that, building a device that he hands off to Carlie, and that device leads her to Peter's apartment. Dun dun dun, I guess. While Petey hides in the shower, Carlie searches under the bed to find an entire Ziploc bag filled with spider tracers. Only, that's not Peter's bed. It's Finn's. The plot thickens. As luck would have it, Finn returns to the apartment right then, having forgotten his locker key, and almost catches Carlie at what she's doing. Before they can discuss what's going on, Finn's partner Alan O'Neill shows up to announce that the supervillain Menace is attacking one of Bill Hollister's campaign rallies. Pete, overhearing this from the bathroom, sneaks back out to go stop Menace, despite the pain, blood loss, and exhaustion. Which is bad enough on its own, but even worse as it means that he misses the rest of the conversation in the apartment, as Carlie stops Vin from leaving by demanding to know what's with all the spider tracers. Carlie's smart enough to know that Vin isn't the spider tracer killer, and Vin quickly admits that there isn't actually a spider tracer killer. Vin, and O'Neill, and possibly other cops, have simply conspired to place spider tracers on already dead bodies, which he insists isn't a crime. You know, except for the whole obstructing justice thing, and planting evidence thing, and defrauding the police thing. But other than those things, it's perfectly legal. O'Neill explains that this is necessary in order to stop a dangerous vigilante who is always getting in the way of the police like Spider-Man, choosing to work like old school cops who would do the exact same thing all the time. Seeming to realize that she's alone in an apartment with two cops that are willing to justify serious crime without almost any prompting, Carlie has the sudden turn saying that she wants in, because she became a cop to punish those who break the law, and Spidey is definitely breaking the law. O'Neill isn't exactly buying it, but this does convince them that it's safe enough to leave for now and head to the Menace attack, which is where we find Spidey attempting to stop Menace like this was just any other day. But with his arm in a web sling and a bullet wound in his shoulder, Spidey isn't exactly up to par, and Menace easily overpowers him, especially since Menace isn't above taking advantage of exploiting Spidey's obvious weakness. Menace ends the fight ready to kill Spider-Man, but decides at the last moment to instead leave the webhead for the cops, who arrive just as the fight is ending, of course. The cops slap some special superhuman cuffs on Spidey, which fortunately for him include a head cover so that they can't remove his mask until they have him chained down at the precinct. And there, the sergeant in charge, Pallone, is prevented from doing exactly that by the arrival of Daredevil! I mean, Matt Murdock, the lawyer, Spidey's lawyer. Or at least now he is. And Matt convinces Pallone to step aside, saying a judge will decide if Spidey's mask can be removed or not, and then proceeds to also convince Spidey to not to attempt to escape, since that would only have the cops even more on his back. So instead, Spidey stands trial, entering a plea of not guilty, of course, and Murdoch even convinces the judge that removing Spidey's mask would be violating his civil rights. It also gives us the conclusion to a relatively irrelevant side story where Spidey was being sued by someone he once saved, and Murdoch brings in a bunch of Spidey's superhero friends to pretend to be Spider-Man in an effort to prove that they don't know which Spider-Man they're actually trying to sue. This effort includes Black Cat sneaking into police headquarters to steal Spidey's web shooters out of lockup, one of which goes to Iron Fist to help him fake being Spider-Man, and the other web shooter Matt hides in a law book that he gives to Spidey, because Spidey's going to be needing it. Because while Pete's been dealing with his arrest, his friends have been facing troubles as well. Harry Osborn, for one, decides he can't leave things where he did with Lily, and bursts into her office at Hollister Election headquarters just as she's returning from her fight with Spider-Man. Yeah, that's right. Lily is Menace. Surprise? Back some months ago, Lily grew concerned over a change in demeanor in Harry. This would turn out to be due to his efforts to buy the Coffee Bean, a local hangout spot he's been running for the duration of Brand New Day so far. But at the time, Lily thought he had fallen back into drugs, an addiction he'd struggled with early in the Spidey comics. Attempting to find Harry's sash in order to learn the truth, Lily instead stumbled upon a goblin door and Harry's private diary confessing the secrets of his and his father's goblin past. That then led her to a secret lab in Oscorp with a secret switch on a bookshelf triggered by Rise of the Norman Empire. We saw this book in New Ways to Die, as Lily suddenly kissed Peter to keep him from also accidentally discovering the lab. And Pete was, of course, too busy being obsessed with himself to realize Lily might have ulterior motives there. When she was inside the lab, Lily was exposed to some new goblin formula that Norman must have been working on. This chemical not only gave her the usual super strength of the goblins, but it actually physically transformed her into a goblin as well, even granting her the ability to change back and forth at will. For reasons that are still unclear to me, Lily wanted her dad to run for mayor. And now, with these powers, she was convinced that she could not only get him to do that, but actually help him win. So that led her to her first appearance attacking candidates Crown and Parfrey. Her plan was just to convince one of them to back out of the race in order to open a spot for her father, but thanks to Jackpot and Spider-Man's involvement, Parfrey ended up dead. Same result, different means, but it does explain why she seemed so upset at the time about Spider-Man's involvement. Even after starting his bid for mayor, Hollister's campaign wasn't really taking off though, so Menace made herself into a villain for him, and her frequent attacks on his campaign sites not only brought attention to his campaign, but also sympathy for him from the electorate. Again, if we're blaming him for letting unchecked super people run rampant in the city to the point that his entire campaign could be made or broken by the arrest of Spider-Man, something, again, he has nothing to do with or any control over, then why would failing to arrest Menace, who he actually has a direct connection to and has been regularly attacking him, actually help him and not hurt him? Again, this entire plotline makes no damn sense. But we also elected Trump for a second term, so I guess voting the opposite of what makes any goddamn sense is exactly what the American people do, so well played, Marvel. Well played. Despite spending much of her villain monologue talking about how weak Harry is, or complaining about how he whines too much, Lily ends her tirade by accepting Harry's proposal and then leaving him alone in his shock. Harry isn't as spineless as Lily believes though, and he goes to Norman's office himself to open the same secret bookcase doorway and gather together some goblin equipment of his own. Carlie also has been busy as she immediately ran from her confrontation with Vin and O'Neill to Sergeant Pallone. Remember him? I mentioned him earlier, Sergeant in Charge? Yeah. She runs to Pallone with the evidence of the Spider Tracer killings, saying she's willing to turn on fellow cops for the same reason she gave for pretending to join Vin and O'Neill earlier, because she became a cop to stop people who break the law. And that's definitely Vin and O'Neill. But it's quickly evident that Pallone is also in on the conspiracy, because he calls up O'Neill and has him arrest Vin as an additional frame-up, realizing that Vin and Carlie are going to present a problem. And O'Neill knows Pallone's right, as he's the only one that actually knows about Vin's crush on Carlie. Vin's surprised they're willing to go so far to cover up this conspiracy when they haven't even killed anyone. Because again, ignoring all the other reasons why this is illegal. But that's when O'Neill confesses that, actually, they have killed someone. Pallone took out the bookie after the bookie realized that all the victims of the Tracer killings had been recently arrested by the NYPD. Which suggests to me that Bookie wasn't actually the first killing in this Spider Tracer killing conspiracy, but that's never actually confirmed. So Vin is taken into custody, thrown into the same jail as Spidey, who notices and realizes that the chances of a cop like Vin surviving jail aren't very good, which is why he needed the web shooter from Daredevil. And sure enough, it's not long before we hit a night where a number of the inmates are secretly let loose to beat the crap out of Vin. Spidey uses some simple physics to break out of his power inhibitor collar, and then breaks out of his cell to stop the fight and rescue Vin. He then gets them both out of the jail altogether and heads for Hollister's place. Carlie had a similar plan. Realizing that the cops were after her for trying to rat them out for the Spider Tracer conspiracy, Carlie had run to her more or less foster dad to explain what's going on. Bill can't stop the cops from taking Carlie away for her supposed crimes though, but Lily can. I am endlessly amused by her evil stare in the background there. Is that funny to anyone else? I think it's hilarious. Running off to turn into Menace, Lily bombs the cop car, giving Carlie the chance to run away. It's right at this point that Spider-Man arrives, giving us Spidey v Menace round 2. But with one arm still unusable, Spidey still can't take Menace out solo, and she once again gains the upper hand, planning to go through with her original idea and simply kill the spider this time. Only that's when Harry shows up with his goblin glider, goblin mask, and a goblin gun? Sure, let's go with that. Why not? The point is, the gun shoots some kind of syringe at Lily, though she manages to catch it one-handed all casual-like a badass. Okay, Lily, I'll give you points for this one thing, but that's it. Lily starts arguing with Osborn, and Spidey uses her distraction to leap up and shove the needle into her neck, forcing the plunger down and injecting her with whatever it was that was in the syringe. Which sounds super irresponsible, but Spidey did learn at this point that this was Harry and Lily. And he trusts Harry, especially after what happened in our previous video. An almost direct mirror to this event, where Harry had some giant needle to cure Molten Man of his curse, which did work. So Peter fully trusted Harry to be doing the right thing again here. Probably also trusting that no matter what was happening here, Harry wouldn't want to hurt Lily in any serious way. And his trust pays off, as the syringe breaks Lily's transformation, and there, in front of a conveniently arriving camera crew, Menace transforms back into Lily. Harry grabs Spidey and gets him somewhere far enough away to be safe from the cops before Peter simply passes out again. By the time he wakes up, everything will have changed. Hollister wins the election, the news about Lily breaking too late on election day for people to change their votes. But despite winning, Bill simply refuses the office, not wanting to take on the job amidst the scandal. A candidate with integrity. Can you imagine? Vin ends up selling out the other cops involved in the conspiracy, personally arresting Pallone and making a plea deal with the DA to bring charges on the rest of the cops involved. Pete and Harry bond over their shared misery and their failure to do their civic duty on election day, while Lily receives a visit in jail from Norman Osborn, who seems to have turned his opinion on her around, especially now that he realizes Harry proposed to her with his former wife's own engagement ring, and he welcomes Lily to the family. The collection then contains a few bonus stories, but mostly they've tied into the main story, and I've more or less discussed them already, except for the Election Day specials that also came out around this time. These are a couple different Spider-Man stories about meeting presidents. One is Spidey palling around with Captain America, and Cap then telling Spidey about a time that he fell through time and landed at the Gettysburg Address, just in time to hear Lincoln deliver the full speech before Cap suddenly returned to his own time. Which, okay, cool story, Cap, I guess. The other story we get is about the inauguration of 2008, which Peter is attempting to attend in order to get some photographs. But I guess at the time he wasn't working for anyone specifically enough to be given a press pass and isn't allowed near the event. So he uses his spider powers to sneak over a wall, only to be immediately caught by John McCain? Man, remember Republicans? I mean, real Republicans? Whatever happened to them? McCain apparently recognizes Peter Parker and even owns Pete's book, because Pete once published a book of all his Spider-Man pictures, in case you didn't know. I think it's called Webs. Anyway, McCain does a solid for Pete and provides him with a spare press pass he just had hanging around, I guess, letting Pete arrive at the site of the inauguration just in time to see that something fishy is going on. While on his way to the inauguration, President-elect Obama was attacked by a mysterious assailant, and all of a sudden there seems to be two Obamas running around, confusing poor Knight Rider-obsessed Joe Biden. Joe and this Obama chase after the first Obama, arriving just in time to the inauguration to stop the swearing in. Realizing he might need to intervene, Pete switches to his spider getup and joins the two almost presidents on stage. Presenting himself as an expert in unlicensed duplicates, Spidey suggests they ask the two Obamas a question only the real Barack would know the answer to. So one of the Secret Service agents asks them what Obama's nickname was in his high school basketball team. The real Obama says Barry Obama, which is a true fact actually, but the fake suggests it was actually Barasket Obama. Nope, that's definitely it now. Whatever it was before, that's the one we're going with. Realizing he's caught, the chameleon reveals himself, and Spidey, with Obama's permission, punches the villain out. Spidey then decides he'd probably best get out of there, especially since he doesn't want to run into Joe Biden, who's still holding a grudge against the webhead after the time Spidey once mistook him for the Vulture. Get it? 'Cause Biden's old. In 2008, they were making jokes about him being really old. That was 16 years ago, you guys. 16 years ago. Before Spidey leaves, though, Obama tells Spidey that he's a big fan and then proceeds to give the webhead that infamous fist bump. Yes, I did mean infamous. That's like when you're more than famous. You're infamous. So Spidey swings off, the inauguration continues without further interruption, and while they have a brighter future to look forward to, we only have the breakdown. From a personal standpoint, I don't think I'll ever really be sold on the Brand New Day era. They didn't just do away with Pete's marriage to MJ. They did away with most of Peter's personal growth as a character. In that void, they shoved this kind of uninteresting conflict with Spider-Man working outside the law and an even less interesting circle of friends that are unabashedly cheap imitations of earlier characters. It also feels like they're wheeling in Romita Jr. to try and give bigger impact to certain stories, and JR Jr.'s art is something else I don't think I'll ever be sold on. But honestly, for all those problems, I can admit that this is one of the stronger stories they've done so far. Writer Mark Guggenheim definitely gave a lot of weight to tying together all the elements introduced through Brand New Day so far, and it feels like if this was the kind of effort we were getting from the beginning, maybe B&D would be remembered more fondly. So I'm giving this a series recommendation level of medium. If you're already tired of this era before reaching this point, this isn't going to cure you of your fatigue, but it does a lot with what it had to work with, and I can respect that. The collected edition gets 1 engagement ring, which I guess we're putting as, fairly good. The collection is 5 issues, but contains a bunch of bonus comics and some alternate covers, so the engagement may have been turned down, but it's a nice ring, and a family heirloom, so I think I've completely lost this metaphor. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. Thanks everybody for watching. I wish this was more of a celebration video like I originally expected it to be, and less of whatever it is now. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope we can keep moving forward, cause that's all there really is left to do. So if you did enjoy this video and would like to see more like it, or you're just really understanding right now why great power needs to come with great responsibility, then be sure to click the like and subscribe and leave a comment so you can help the channel out. And so you can help yourself out to be sure to be here next time, and I hope to see you then, right here, in the Comic Cave.